Hi folks, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. Going off-road is all about testing man and machine, but more so than that, it's about finding adventure and discovering incredible and sometimes forgotten places. Well, that is an idea that we decided to latch on to here at Truck King, so we grabbed a brand new GMC Canyon AT4X and we hit the road to find some adventure. So please come along on this 4-part video series that is the GMC Canyon Ghost Town Tour. Our adventure began on a lovely sunny morning as we grabbed a coffee and headed north on Highway 400, the main artery that ferries all suburbanites from the Greater Toronto area to the wilderness that is Northern Ontario. The province of Ontario is home to both the economic center of Canada, that being Toronto, and the nation's capital of Ottawa, so often the city is what gets pictured when Ontario is mentioned. But as you head north, you quickly realize that Ontario is vast and rugged. The earliest industry that drove the settling of this land was the beaver pelt trade that began in the 1600s. Eventually, though, that gave way to both forestry and mining, both of which continue to this day. Many of the roads that you'll see in Northern Ontario and that you're going to see in this video series are a result of those industries, as accessing remote locations by truck or train was crucial to keep the mines open and the timber flowing south. Now, home base for the Ghost Town Tour is Sudbury, Ontario, a town with a skyline dominated by huge smokestacks that are endemic of any mining town. Sudbury was built on the backs of miners and foresters, and the hills and rocks around this town hold many forgotten stories, some of which we are here to tell. Alrighty folks, so now the adventure begins. So the first ghost town that we're going to go check out is actually the Burwash Correctional Facility. Yeah, it's an old prison. And the cool thing about Burwash, Dad, is it was the prison, but it was an entire community that sprang up around the prison. And the whole idea behind this prison specifically was they wanted it to be a community. They wanted it to be self-sufficient. They wanted the prisoners to grow their own food. They were also logging, doing all kinds of other work in the area. So yeah, Burwash became this large community again out in the middle of nowhere. So that's the first ghost town that we're gonna go try and find here in our canyon.
Yeah, at its height there was like 1,000 people who were associated with the prison who were living around it.
Right.
Now, I don't think we'll find too much because most of those houses got bulldozed in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But the prison itself, you can see it from aerial photographs, it's definitely still there.
Yeah. So more on Burwash once we get up there, but for now, let's just start by, talking about this GMC Canyon AT4X. If you don't know what this truck is, we want to give you a good sense for it. And we should say AT4X is new for this generation of Canyon. Previously, they did have AT4, but AT4 never went as far as ZR2 did on the Chevy side, and I think GMC kind of got tired of having a truck that wasn't as good as the Chevy, so they said, we want everything Chevy gets, and they basically got it here with the AT4X. So what are we talking about? Well, that's the high output 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 310 horsepower, over 400 pound-feet of torque. Now, also, the other big ticket item on this truck, Multimatic DSSV dampers. So we get unique suspension, but the whole thing with the DSSVs is they are position sensitive. So it is a passive suspension system, but depending on how you drive the truck, it will offer different levels of damping. Because you know what, Dad, we both know this truck is great at crawling, but it's also pretty good once you pick up the speeds as well, and that's the key to DSSV.
That's it. So it does a little bit of everything. It's sort of the Swiss Army knife. Because in the next couple of days we'll be doing some fast and some really slow stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually part of the adventure here. We don't know exactly what we're going to get into. We know the sites we want to hit, but we don't know what the trails and roads look like. So that'll be fun to get there and see what we have to traverse to make it into these places.
And the question is, what do we have to help us get there? Well, 2-speed transfer case. We've got front and rear lockers. And we have various different modes, including a terrain mode, which in essence gives us a one-pedal drive, which is awesome, particularly when you're picking through rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, GMC has built in just a ton of features here for off-roading. But then honestly, if you had to kind of characterize or summarize the truck, the way I look at this truck is it is amazing off-road, but it's also quite luxurious. And I think that's where modern GMC really wants to position itself. They want to make sure that they have all the equipment to get you there, but then the interior is going to be even nicer than, again, say what you get at Chevrolet or at the other brands. And I mean, I think they nailed it. Now, I will say, white leather in an off-road truck is a questionable choice. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's gonna get dirty. Outside of that, it's gorgeous in here. Love the red stitching. It's a stupid thing, Dad, but I love the red seatbelts. Every time I put my seatbelt on, I'm like, ooh, that's kind of nice.
I hadn't really noticed that, but I gotta tell you, I love the white leather. And I remember talking to the designer at the launch.
Okay.
And I gave kudos to the fact that he said, I really wanted to offend people. Well, he didn't say offend. He wanted to challenge them. He wanted to give them something that they were going to love or they were going to hate, and he was willing to go out on a limb. And I get what you're saying, but from my perspective, I just love color contrast, and
Sure.
You cannot get a better contrast than this white against all that black.
Yep, I will agree with you there. But I think just overall, we can agree, even next to the Chevrolet, we were just in the Colorado ZR2. Yeah, this is more fashion forward, style forward. They were really paying attention to the way it looks in here, and I think they did a nice job.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we're coming up to Burwash now. We got to pick our way through some of these little dirt trails, and then we'll see how close to the prison we can actually get.
Yeah, we're hoping to get all the way in, but the latest intelligence suggests that they may have cut the one trail, so we'll see how that works out.
Cool. Eventually, the road into Burwash ended at a set of train tracks, which at one time, not that long ago, was the only way to get into this area. So we begrudgingly left the canyon behind and we began the trek on an unseasonably hot October day. It was about 30 degrees Celsius, that's roughly 85 degrees Fahrenheit, so this was not a cool fall day by any means. Well, folks, part of exploring is frankly getting lost, and right now we're lost out in the woods. To get to the Burwash Correctional Facility, we knew there was going to be a little bit of hiking involved, and we just straight up took the wrong trail. There's so many old roads and trails in this area that are no longer used. Yeah, we thought we were going the right way, but we didn't. So we wasted a good 45 minutes walking down this trail, and now all we can do is turn around and go back and try to find the right trail this time. So stay with us. All right, situation report. We thought we were going the wrong way. We were not going the wrong way. We were going the right way. We put the drone up in the air, and that helped us get our bearings. But then honestly, we ran into some folks out here who'd also hiked this trail, and they knew where it went. So in this case, it took local knowledge for us to find Burwash, but we're almost there now. And yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be even more rewarding because we had to hike in. Thankfully, we were pointed in the right direction, and we made it. Opened originally in 1914, the Burwash Industrial Farm was an attempt at a new sort of incarceration where the inmates were made to produce the necessities themselves. Thanks to its remote location on a parcel of over 35,000 acres of land, commuting to and from Camp Bison, that was the name given to the prison itself, was impossible, so a community sprang up around it. This community included a grocery store that sold bread and vegetables made and grown by the inmates, a sawmill that milled trees that inmates had cut down, and even a barber and a tailor shop. The lumber from that sawmill provided every Ontario provincial park at the time with picnic benches made by inmates, and it was also used by the inmates to build homes and businesses in the community. The fields surrounding this prison, which are now dotted by the odd decaying structure or fence, would have been bustling with life at one point. But of course, it didn't last. And what remains today is the main building at Camp Bison, and that's about it. And of course, we hiked all that way, so we couldn't resist but to take a look inside. Ready? Going in. Crazy. Oof. Here's your cell block. No, thank you, man. You got a pretty big window in there. I guess that's something. The Burwash Correctional Facility here, it actually got its start back in 1914, if you can believe it. Although this building we're in here was built somewhere in the 50s, and then this place shut down in 1975. So it's been over 50 years since anything was here, and you can tell, I mean, it's just such a cool vibe, or kind of a creepy vibe coming in here, honestly, seeing all these cells, seeing how small they are, knowing how many people, suffered here over the years. And then, of course, since 1975, well, people have been coming here, drawing, graffitiing, there's trash all over the place. It's just a wild place to come and explore and try to kind of get the vibe. And then the thing I keep reminding myself of is over 1,000 people lived in the facility and all the way around it. There was homes all around here. They ran their own farms, grew their own food. This was a self-sustaining settlement. It just so happened to be based around a prison. Pretty interesting stuff. There is one fun tidbit I have to share because there was a famous inmate at Burwash. That was David Clayton Thomas, the lead singer of Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Now, this was just a minimum security prison, so the only inmates that came here were serving 2 years or less, which was the case for David Clayton Thomas. But yeah, if you look that up, he talks about this place and how for him, his experience here was not very nice.
Well, they must have known that Truck King was coming to explore out here today, because what did we find but a pickup truck? So eagle-eyed Truck King viewers, help me out here. I know it's a Dodge, but I don't know what year. Now this place, Burwash, it closed down in 1975. And this could be mid-70s to me. My gut tells me that it's early 80s, but I'm not totally sure. But it makes some sense that, yeah, maybe it has been here since 75 when the prison closed down, because you cannot drive trucks into this place anymore. They have blocked all the trails off, so there's some ATV access, but even that's pretty gnarly. So this thing has definitely been here for a long time. And yeah, I'm putting it out to you. What year is this Dodge? I want to know.
As we hiked back to our waiting GMC Canyon, I couldn't help but think about the convicted murderer who escaped from Camp Bison in 1966, hiked 16 miles through the forest, hijacked a car, and made it all the way to Toronto before being captured again. Luckily, we didn't have the long arm of the law chasing us, though. And before long, we made it back to the truck, bringing this adventure to a close.
There she is. We made it, buddy. Woo!
That's it for this episode of the GMC Canyon Ghost Town Tour. We hope you enjoyed learning more about an interesting place right here in our own backyard. Thanks to both GMC Canada and the city of Sudbury, who helped cover our expenses and made the video series possible. Come back to the channel very soon to see the next installment in the GMC Canyon Ghost Town Tour.